So, welcome to the first episode of Play or Pass. There's no script, I'm just straight up talking to you. So, what exactly is this? Well, once a month, I'll do like a little update on NGS and tell you what I personally think about the update and how you might be deciding if you should play the update or pass the update. And I think this is something that me as an MMO player, I would love to know. Like any game I play, I would love to know, like, you know, someone who's actively playing the game, yo, is this update trash? Should I just like skip this? Or, yo, is this update fun? And should I just keep playing it? You know? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's just get started about it. We just got Braver, as you know. My boy, Zeomantic, check out his channel, calls it Sci-Fi Samurai. And it's a pretty fun class. Majority consensus is that, you know, this is just like, you don't even know if this is majority or just a loud minority. But they think it's clunky, weak, and stuff. People are still figuring out the class, so, you know, that's just your first impressions. And in my opinion, I would say, yeah, first impressions are pretty important, especially with a class. If you find a class feels like clunky at the start, there's a very low chance you're gonna do anything about it to see if, like, you know, maybe it's just my play style, you know? Like, let's look at Fighter, for example. Fighter's hella smooth. Like, you pick up Fighter, right, and you just start punching stuff, you use twin daggers, you use double sabers, it just feels great. So your first impression of this class is like, you know, this is a very fluid class, like, why would I play any other class but Fighter? And then you see the down damage and you see high numbers and you're just like, yeah, this is it. So for people who go from like, you know, oh, this is super fluid, and then you pick up Braver, and then all of a sudden it's a completely different playstyle to what you've been doing for the past like 100 hours, there's a high chance you might not even continue with it. Like, you might just say it's clunky and then just like throw it to the side. I mean, the best representation, honestly, is like fighting games. Like, for example, Guilty Gear, right? I play Nagoriyuki, he's a slow, punking samurai, right? And then Gold Lewis comes out, right? And I'm like, yo, I really want to play Gold Lewis. He looks so awesome in the trailers. His personality's amazing. Dude caught a rocket in the story mode. So I pick up Gold Lewis, right? And then you have to churn butter to do his commands, and I'm just like, wow, you know, my first impression was, wow, I really like this, but then my second impression was like, wow, what trash, you know? And this is like day one. But, you know, you already have it in your head, right? That, wow, this is already trash and I don't even like this. So you're more inclined to go back to what you were playing. So basically, I went back to Nagoriyuki. But then a couple days later, you see like the cool stuff that people put out for Gold Lewis, and you're just like, yo, you know, this goes way beyond my first impression of it, and it shows that, you know, maybe my first impression wasn't a very good representation of the class or the character in a fighting game. But then you always go back to what's already comfortable. And this happens in any game, you know, like Final Fantasy XIV, right? I would say the hardest thing to do in that game would be to change your role. Like, go from DPS to tank, or tank to heal, or any way you go. When you do that in that game, you're going from something that you're already comfortable with, you've been playing for years, to something completely new, which you've never done. And I don't mean like, you know, you're gonna play DPS and then you're gonna go play tank for a dungeon. I mean, like, you just straight up quit DPSing, right? And you just play tank for the rest of the expansion. Like, there's always that familiarity that you have when you play DPS, but now you're in a completely different role, and you have to relearn it. Like, for me in Shadowbringers, right? Historically, I've been a black mage from, like, a Realm Reborn to Heavensward, and then a ninja in Heavensward, all the way to the end of Stormblood. And that's pretty much where a lot of my raid mates know that I'm a ninja. But then Shadowbringers, right? I just toss that shit right out the window, and now I'm a gunbreaker. You know, that's a completely different role. Meaning that, you know, I spent like multiple years doing this one job. And then I switched to something completely different that I never played at like a serious level. And I think the first thing I thought about was like, when I did that, I was like, yo, I just like Gunbreaker aesthetics. You know, it just looks cool. It plays fun. I just like it. And then you think about it and you're just like, you know, there's like that thing they call anxiety, which I don't really have, but I understand it. Where it's like, you know, you start tanking something for the first time, like first time where there's actual consequences, you know? Like, if you actually mess up, you might wipe the whole party. Granted, in Shadowbringers, that's mostly reserved for Savage. But, you know, it still happens, you know? Where you think you're gonna wipe everyone. And everyone runs into that, I think. At least I would believe so, because, you know, not that many people play tanks for healers, but there's also, like, so many choices on the DPS side. But that's the kind of thing, though, is you get that one time, right, where you completely scuff everything and you wipe everything. And the first thing that goes in your head is, maybe I should go back to DPS, you know? And that's what I feel like Braver basically boils down to, is like, you touch it, and you either like one aspect of it, or you hate it, and that first impression is really all you need to go back to what's familiar to you. And I'm not saying that, you know, oh, if you find it clunky, you're wrong, and you should be playing Braver to figure out all these nuances. Like, God, no. No. Like, for me, I don't like Fighter. I know Fighter is strong, and I think Fighter is one of the most fluid classes in the game, but personally, playstyle-wise, I just don't like it. And that's just me. You know, so for me, what's familiar for me is Hunter. Like, you know, which is funny when you think about it. Because when you break it down, right, everyone is a fighter. Everyone wants to be a fighter. Because you've seen the numbers, you've seen how hard it hits. And then usually if you ask people how is Hunter, and they'll be like, you know, just play Fighter Hunter. But for me, you know, I play Hunter main. And I'm just like having the absolute blast. And if I ever went from Hunter to Fighter, there's like a 90% chance I would completely scuff everything because it's just not the playstyle that I like. But then you go to Braver, right? And yeah, I'll say, like, the first time I touched Braver, I was like, yo, this class is kind of clunky. And then the difference, though, is when I stuck with it, I was like, okay, never mind, this is just Hunter with a katana. And that's the thing, though, is for me, like, it instantly clicked once I realized, oh, Braver's just Hunter with a katana. But if you're a fighter main, right, and you hop on a Braver, you're like, yo, this shit's too clunky. You know, like, stand still, Lotus Lightning, Silver Leaf, no mobility whatsoever. Like, imagine going from a class where every single weapon, right, can basically move forward to a class where, yeah, you kind of can move forward, but, like, not that much, you know, like, that's gonna throw you off heavily from the class. So, yeah, like, Braver, I would say if you enjoy the katana aesthetic, and it has counters, but it's not like base PSO2, it's definitely slower, right? Maybe try it out. Like, I would say it takes you maybe 5 to 10 minutes of playing Braver to figure out if you're actually gonna main it. And that sounds kind of controversial. Like, a lot of people tell you you need hours upon hours to really appreciate a game. But I'm gonna tell you straight up, okay? 5 to 10 minutes of playing any game is pretty much enough to tell you if you're gonna like it. And that's something that's like, a lot of people disagree. Like, for example, Final Fantasy XIV, people tell you need like 100 hours. Or you need to clear a Realm Reborn to really appreciate the game. Well, that's a very, very long process, you know? Assuming you're not buying a jump potion to just skip everything, and then even then you still have to do story. If you didn't like the story within the first, like, 5 to 10 minutes of gameplay, and you already know there's like 300 hours of stuff you need to do before you get to endgame rating, which might be what you like, there's a high chance you're going to be off-put by it, you know? And that's exactly how I'd say it works for Braver. Now, Braver, like, straight up, if you don't like it in the first 5 to 10 minutes, honestly speaking, your choices are just go back to what you already know, because it's gonna be way more fun, or, you know, just, like, try and stick with it to see if you like it, but also, you might invest too much and then just regret your decision. For me, I pretty much liked the class, and I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this. But for others, I don't know, I wouldn't recommend it. Especially if it doesn't click for you. And that's the way that NGS and PSO2 in general really works, is that you have to find a playstyle that really clicks. And we have a lot of options, you know. Don't chase the meta just because someone told you that a class is better than others. Choose a class that really makes fun, you know. And that's really what it comes down to, is if you really like Braver, for example, or you really like Force, like a lot of people, oh my god, early PSO2, NGS, lots of people are calling Force trash. But it doesn't change the fact that Force is fun for people, you know? And when it's fun for you, you're more likely to take it to its extremes, which then results in some crazy stuff. Like, I noticed something that's very common with NA, is that we all fixate on what is the best, right? But we don't really fixate on what is exactly fun, you know? And that's what NGS is you really should not focus on the meta in this game. And this is a controversial take, but the game is super easy. There is no combination in the game that can't kill anything in NGS. You will be able to kill literally every single urgent quest, every single boss, every single trial. You can even farm pretty efficiently with every single class combo in the game. There's no such thing as like a trash combination unless you do something dumb, like, I don't even know if it's dumb, honestly. Like, if you take Ranger, for example, and you just shove all 20 points, right, into its 2 subclass skills that work for status, yeah, even at that point, you'd still be able to kill everything. Like, the game is that easy. And that's why, realistically, right, yeah, you kind of can't really care about it, in my opinion, for the meta. Like, there is a meta that exists, but you're also playing a game that's designed to make you not fail. And that's why I think it's like, I don't see the point of it, honestly. Like, the point of meta chasing an NGS, like, I understand that people want to be the best that they can be, but also you're playing a game where Sega can just willy-nilly decide to, like, break your class's ankles. Like, let's look at Gunner. Gunner's the best example of this, you know? When NA said that Gunner was the strongest class in the game, I was actually kind of laughing, because if you've ever played Gunner, back when PSO2 was JP only, it's gone through a lot of changes, you know? Like, oh god. Like, you can search up these changes, but first we had just rolling, where you did stylish roll, and it buffed your PA damage. Then Sega nerfed that and then changed our potencies, but the potency change wasn't enough to cover our damage. So I forgot how long that was, but it felt like an eternity, where you're basically hitting pebbles. And then we got a potency change, which fixed everything. And then 85 uncap happened, and we got S-roll, and S-roll, oh my god. S-roll, Goofy, was just ridiculous. It's, a lot of people will hype it up now, but it's nowhere near as strong as it was back then. I think we had it for like 2 months, and then they broke our ankles and made it balanced. But that's the thing, though, is if you chase the meta every single time, you're probably not going to enjoy what the meta is, because as soon as they nerfed S-roll, all the gunners who hopped on the Goofy train completely disappeared. And I'm willing to bet a lot of them probably quit until basically Luster. Because once you go from like the strongest class in the game to like middle or below average in some cases, like Hero's a great example. Hero started off extremely strong. Like it was like the worst decision in my opinion that Sega ever implemented, was putting Hero into the game at the state the game was. That's like current NGS, right? Like, let's put in perspective. No one in NGS right now has the ability to completely decimate life. You know, like, yeah, you could say fighter, right? But let's be honest, okay, fighter's only in a 1v1 situation. Imagine if fighter, force, and I don't know, hero just got tossed in the game. You had complete PP efficiency, everything died in like 1 to 2 hits, and you just did 20 times more damage than everyone else. That was what it felt like when hero first came in, and the first thing you could do was you booted up Buster Quests, right? Or any UQ, and by the time you actually walked there, everything was dead because the hero killed everything. Like that's what it felt like when hero first dropped. And that thing was meta. Now look at hero now, right? Hero is still a very strong class. It's just, it's not at the level of craziness that it was, you know. It's pretty balanced in my opinion. Like you have to be a very good hero to pull off hero now. But back then, in the early days of PSO2, that thing was so broken. And honestly, it kind of killed my love for the game for a bit. Because it's like, well, if you're not playing hero, right, well, you can't really play the game, you know? And luckily, shortly after we got episode, what was it, like 6? I think episode 6 or 5. I forgot which one it was where, yeah, it had to be like second half episode 5. Going into 6, where we got like the best episodes of literally PSO2, where all of a sudden, you know, you got Phantom, Itoile, Luster, you got all these gameplay changes that made the previous like original 6 classes really good. Summoner, I'm so sorry for my Summoner homeboys. Like I don't even, I can't give my opinion on that class because every time I looked at it, I was like, there's so many layers of stuff where you had to go deep into the class, right? But the payoff was that you became a summoner, which was pretty good, depending on the way you looked at it. Like, it really depends. It just wasn't my playstyle, so I knew how powerful summoner was in certain stuff, but realistically, you probably won't see me playing summoner. And there's some cool videos you can watch, like check out like Sodom 100 summoner runs, and it's always freaking funny. You just like take Meron or Melon, I forgot which one, just throw it directly at Sodom and just watch him instantly explode. Like it's so cool what summoners can do, but that's a lot of like, that's a lot of stuff you have to go through though, just to even get that working. Which is why I hope NGS, they really simplify that. And oh my god. Yeah, we've just been talking about random classes in Braver. Let's talk about defense quests. Okay. So, defense quests, right? I don't know if anyone really cares about them. That sounds pretty awful to say. But I think defense quests, they're gonna be fun, right? For the first, like, couple days. But like, give it a week and you probably won't really find it as fun unless they do something crazy. Like, I think they're going to be really fun, considering NGS, everything's fun. But downside, they're part of urgent quests, so there's 2 things about that, which is, 1, you need to be awake when it's up, and sometimes you'll just be sleeping. And 2, you actually have to have, like, time to do it. And on top of that, you need to be online. So basically, if you're not online during the time that it's happening, you're probably gonna miss it. And at that stage, like, if you're already missing one of the content that's supposed to be awesome with the update, there's a high chance you'll probably be like, I'm just gonna play Braver, right? And then, wow, I'm kind of done playing Braver. This toy has gotten a little stale for me, so you put it to the side. And you're like, I'm gonna go play Defense Quests when it comes out. Well, once defense quests drop and every single defense quest is pretty much outside of your time that you're actually playing the game, you might just be like, well, you know, Rogue Company just got Season 3, I'm gonna play that. And that's kind of the place where I'm at right now, which is like, you know, I already acknowledge, because I've been playing this game for years, right? The update schedule and structure is super slow. Now, NGS, this might shock you guys. It's pretty fast. And I know there's going to be people who are up in arms, who are just like, how is this possibly fast? Well, compared to Japan, right? During PSO2, the updates were so horribly slow. And NGS, right? I would say right now is the time where the game has fully come out. Like, this is it. Like, this is what the game has finally come out. In like 1 or 2 months, we're gonna have Bouncer, right? And then 1 month or 2 months after that, we're gonna have a whole level cap unlock and more class skills. And then from there, I would say maybe like 2 to 3 more months, you got Summoner. Like, worst case scenario, 4 months, but they're gonna put something in between that. Like, we're getting updates pretty ridiculously fast in NGS compared to base PSO2, where how long did JP go without an update until NGS came out? Like 5-6 months? Like, imagine, right, you've been playing the game for years, right? And all you really get is, like, you get Sodom 100, Twisted Hate. Yeah, like, of course we got some crossover stuff like Evangelion and cool stuff like that. But there's, like, such a huge gap between the updates that you're kind of just twiddling your thumbs. But also it allows you to do other stuff. Like, you're not really missing anything by not playing. And that's one of the things here too, is like, you know, play or pass. This video has gone off the rails, but but the thing about it though is, like, you're not locked to playing NGS. There's a lot of free-to-play MMOs you can play. Grand Chase, if you're into that, that just got revived. What else? We got Warframe. Warframe is a time-gated power-tripping game. People like it. I've been playing it for a long time, but I don't play it anymore due to... There's a lot of things that I think are wrong with Warframe, which just kind of put me off from it. But as a new player, though, there's like thousands of hours of content for you to do. You know, like, you gotta remember, if I say Warframe is not a good game from my perspective, you gotta remember, I'm a jaded veteran who shoved in like thousands of hours into that game. There's like no content for me. And no matter how fast they update content for that game, I've hit the ridiculous point where you would have to put on like 2 to 3 years of content added for me to have something to do for about a month. And that's why I think, my opinion, you should not take in consideration when I recommend Warframe. Like, I think if you're a new player and you're gonna go try Warframe, you're gonna have an absolute freaking blast. For hours. It might even be your new favorite game, playing Warframe. And that's the thing, is like, you know, with Warframe, as you get more and more gear and good at the game, you might get bored. And that's the same thing with any MMO, right? Like, imagine you hit the max, right? Like, Final Fantasy, you get best in slot, triple legend, max out your crafters, and like, let's say you don't really have like a friend group or something playing the game 24/7, or all of you have done the exact same thing. There's a high chance you're probably gonna unsub. Same at World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, Elder Scrolls Online. Pretty much every single MMO in existence, when you're at that top level and there's just nothing else to do, you're probably gonna quit and look for something else. And that's what NGS is right now. I think NGS is a super special case of MMOs. We have 0 time gates. We have nothing locking you behind progression. Like, that's the big thing, is that there is nothing stopping you from going 1 to 20, from gearing up to... And I don't mean like best in slot gearing, you know, like, I mean gearing up to the point where you're powerful, but you're not like top 0.111% or something like that, you know? And the fact that you can hit that level without any sort of investment is pretty insane. Like, yeah, presets are good, right? But realistically, you don't even need a preset or fix-up. Like, the fact you could be this strong without a preset or fix-up kind of makes the whole system only really there if you care about that increase. And because you can ignore that increase, right, nothing is stopping you from buying like 2 pieces of 1k Gion armor and then like one, not even one, just get the red box unit. And then just wear that, upgrade it. And even without presets, you're hella strong, you know? Then you just get your weapon. If it gets a preset, whoop-de-doo. If it doesn't, then it's still really strong if you get level 3 potentials on it. It's just slightly less strong, you know? And that's already good enough to kill the content from now until, realistically speaking, the winter update. Like, nothing is stopping you at that point from just completely decimating the game from an investment that only took you maybe 1 to 2 weeks. At that point, I would say you're probably going to be like, I ran out of content to do. There's no content in this game. What should I do? And that's where I say, like, honestly, the best move at that point is either make some friends, do some stuff in the game, AFK, look pretty, make YouTube videos like I did, or, you know, just play a different game. Like, that's what I do. Like, I don't think NGS is really designed for you to play 24/7, even base PSO2, right? Like, when we look at that game, it has 8 years of content. That game is still not designed for you to play every single day. You can get from basically a new character in base PSO2 up to fully geared within a pretty fast amount of time, honestly speaking. It's really crazy how fast you can go. And that's the thing, is that the ideology between PSO2 style games and traditional MMOs is that it's kind of designed around like a working schedule where, you know, you do your job and maybe you only want to play like an hour a day, you know, and you just choose NGS, for example, like that's your game. Well, you log in and there's always an hour of stuff for you to do for fun. And then you can socialize, play dress up, do that other stuff. And Final Fantasy, I would say it falls in the same thing. Like Final Fantasy, realistically speaking, they've hit the perfect level of difficulty, even for the highest end content like Savage. Ultimate, different story, but Savage, yeah, the difficulty I would say is at a good place throughout this whole expansion. So let's say like you work full time, for example, you only really play like 1 hour a day to do your dailies, and just doing your dailies is enough for you to like cap your stuff. You know, like you'll cap your weekly things every single time. And then on the weekends, right, let's say you want to do Savage, well, you know, that's higher end stuff to do. Savage, Extreme Primals. And honestly speaking, it might only take you like 2 hours Saturday, Sunday to like make some progress. And then for a lot of the people, you know, you kill the first floor of Savage and you're kind of satisfied at that point, you know. Maybe you'll do the second floor if you really like it. So you'll do the second floor and then you might get a group and you do the third and fourth floor. And you feel great about yourself, but that's the thing though, is it's really designed not for you to bum rush through the whole thing immediately, but take your time. And the other point of this is that if you choose and you want to bum rush all of this, you can do that. Like that's the best part. There are people who are like week 1 raiders or even world prog, where they'll just kill the whole tier within 2 days of it releasing. And that's totally a possibility you can do because it's at that perfect difficulty level where you can kill it immediately, or you could take your time and do it. Like, I'm part of a mid-core static, for example, which means that we progress at like whatever, I actually don't even know what our progression level is. Like sometimes it's really fast and sometimes we goof around and it goes a little slower. But either way, right, you're gonna get at least 30 kills of the final boss just progressing at a relatively slow pace pretty easily. And like there's not that much time investment. I think we invested like maybe 4 hours a week, 4 hours, 6 hours a week for just progressing. And everyone has their own stuff they're doing and they're really busy too. And it just works out. So, like, for example, if I was a week 1 raider, right, and I kill the whole tier in 1 week, and I get 8 more clears, I'll probably say by the time that a mid-core group is at that point, that there's no content for me to do because I already finished everything. And that's probably what... I don't know where I was going with that, actually. I completely lost. That's how you know that this is completely unscripted, but, yeah, like, basically speaking, if you rush to the top level, and there's nothing stopping you from rushing to the top level, you're just gonna run out of stuff to do. And that's really what it comes down to, is you'll just completely run out of things to do. And this is every single game except PvP games, I would say. PvP games, the reason why you can play something like Call of Duty, for example, for thousands of hours until they release another one the next year, and then you're back in the cycle of buying it, and then you're angry, and then it gets good, and then you get angry again. The thing about those games is that you're fighting other people, and it's the interaction between you and the other person that really makes it infinite content. Like, you can play Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, not Save the World, Fortnite Battle Royale, and every single time you play the game, it's gonna be different. Like, every single time, because you're fighting human beings, and every interaction is different. For MMOs, the majority of the time, it's going to be the exact same thing until more stuff is added. Final Fantasy, I don't know, PvP is not that good in that game. So that's what I would say is a PvE game. No matter what you do, right, for the last, I don't know how it's been. Oh man, I think it's been like 6 months now. So basically a whole like 8-month period of the game's life, you've been fighting the same exact fight. Of, what is it? E9 Savage up to E12 Savage. Maybe you'll do Ultimate, but that's been the same fight since Stormblood. So, you know, at that point, there's a finite amount of content, and it's basically you have to create your own content. NGS is pretty much in the same boat. It's gonna have the same content you're doing right now, plus 1 defense quest, for maybe a year. Like, I would say it would take maybe a year before there's enough content that you could really sit down and then play maybe for a month before you get bored. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because it's really not. It really depends on what you do. Like, for example, in base PSO2, I've already played through the game in JP, and then I did it again on Global. And you would think I got bored, right? Like, you've been doing this for 7 years, basically, at this point. Why would you do this again? And the real thing was, like, no, I didn't really get bored. And I played the game majority solo, too. Like, it was pretty crazy. Because for me, right, it's like Groundhog Day. I don't know, that film might be a little too old for anyone watching. But in that movie, right, basically repeats the same day over and over, and then does different stuff. And that's basically what was Global PSO2 for me, was just doing different stuff the whole time. And then it's like having knowledge of the future, and then you walk into the game and you're just like, wow, this is great. And then not only that, but after we got to the point where it caught up completely, it was basically just me enjoying the game. Because base-wise, right, and people might not like to admit this, base PSO2 and NGS have a good base. Like, the base gameplay of the game is fun. That's why we play it. If it wasn't fun, why would we play it? Like, why would we play past that 5 to 10 minutes? And then turn that 5 to 10 minutes into, like, 10 hours. Like, and then even going past that 10 hours, right? If the game's not fun, why would you still be playing it, you know? And that's pretty much it. But, yeah, I really should conclude this video. This is getting way too long. So yeah, play or pass. This has completely changed the whole meaning and first start of this video. So I'll probably rename this video not as play or pass. But like, yeah, should you be playing NGS or passing on it right now? I would say play it at like a casual pace. You know, like the current update, if you don't like Braver, Play a different game right now until basically Bouncer, and then see if you like it. And that might sound a little controversial, where I'm like, you know, PSO2 content creator tells you don't play the game. Let's make that a headline. But the reality of the game currently right now is that you pretty much, and this is how it's going to be for pretty much the whole life cycle, honestly, is that you log in to do what is fun for you, and then you kind of just log out and then come back when it's fun again. And that's kind of all it is. Like, it's literally a sandbox. Like, you might see some cosmetics you like, and that's what brings you back. Or for me, for example, and if you watch the stream at twitch.tv/everydairy, you'll notice that I don't stream NGS. And the reason why is because I play this game whenever I feel like it. So Braver, for example, came out, I streamed a little of it, and then I just was like, you know, now I'm playing other games because that's what's fun for me. And realistically, you know, there's no real gear for me to work on, nor do I want to grind endlessly for presets, because I think that's kind of, yeah, that's like kind of, you're basically gambling. Like, it's just complete RNG. There's no way to transfer them or guarantee them. So for me, the little bit of, like, by the time I get something crazy, like a Fix of 5, Vital, Straga, for example, there's probably another series out at that point, or even a new star level, that it would completely invalidate my weapon, or come close to invalidating it, which makes me go like, why would I bother grinding for that then, you know? So for me, right, I just play whenever the game is fun, and then I make stuff to help people out. Which is why, if there's anything you want clarification on, comment down below, and that's usually where I get my video ideas to help you guys out. Because, in my opinion, I think NGS is hella fun. This is one of the most fun free-to-play MMOs on the market. And that's the thing, is it's free-to-play. Like, it costs you nothing to play the game. And that's what makes it so freaking good, is that it costs you nothing. Like, realistically speaking, you just maybe spend some time downloading, and then if you don't like the game, you just uninstall it. But you don't lose money, you know? You're not buying like $5 for Black Desert. Or in Final Fantasy's case, you know, like, what's it, like 40 bucks? 40 bucks for Final Fantasy, $40 for Shadowlands, World of Warcraft. I don't even know how much Guild Wars 2 costs, because I haven't even bought it. ESO, Elder Scrolls Online, yeah, if you guys want to see scuffed monetization in that game, you pay, first you have to buy the game, right? And then you have to buy the expansion, Blackwood, which currently I think is on sale for like 25 bucks. But on release it's $40. And this is all using US pricing, and then on top of that, you got DLC, right? And the DLC aren't included with the expansion. And some of these range from like completely lore, awesome stuff you could do, to straight up like your best in slot might come from this, because everything in Elder Scrolls is horizontal gear progression. And yeah, that's why when I look at NGS's monetization, I'm just like, thank God. Like, really, just thank God it's just a shop pass or some horrible premium service that does virtually nothing for you. You know, it could have been way worse. And even then, for a free-to-play MMO, it's always been this way since JP, and it's been a pretty fair structure. Like, I think, honestly, as long as your gachas or whatever are cosmetic, yeah, whatever, like, I don't really care. But the second that you start implementing stuff where it's like, oh, you know, we're gonna release outfits that you can affix, that's like, hell no. In fact, that was Southeast Asia, PSO2. Rips C PSO2. That game was oof. You guys can read about it. It's all over Bumped. If you guys don't know what Bumped is, just Google Bumped PSO2, and that's pretty much like your premier PSO2 information that you can find for like JP to NA. Well, not NA, like English. Like it's translated JP stuff. And if you're a JP player, that's pretty much your resource. Or if you want to try JP, you have to pretty much use PSO2 Bumped, unless you speak Japanese, because that's going to help you out a lot. Anyways, this video was super long than I expected, and it's just all audio, so I'll just write this as like a podcast. Thank you all for watching this insanely long rant. I'm not even gonna edit this, I'm just gonna upload it. And I will see you guys Saturday, where I'm gonna make some Final Fantasy content, because I'm just kind of waiting for Defense Quests to make content on that to help people out. So if there's any other game you play, there's a very high chance I probably played it. So if you're ever wondering about any other game, comment down below of any topic, and I'll make a video on it. Like, I'll just choose randomly, and I'll be like, yo, this guy has a Warframe thing, and he just wants to know how to do solo Eidolons in, like, 2021. Yeah, I'll make a video for you, guy. Like, viewer. Just to help you out. Because, in my opinion, I think that, I think that any question about any game is a valid question, and I'm willing to help you. So, any game you're curious about, there's a high chance I played it, and I will help you out on anything about it if I've already touched it. Now, this also might shock you guys too, okay? But when October rolls around and Back 4 Blood comes out officially, don't be surprised when you see some Back 4 Blood content, because that game has me really hooked. And I know a lot of people are angry about Back 4 Blood, but when I started playing it, I didn't go in thinking it was Left 4 Dead, and what I came out with was a pretty interesting game. So hopefully, and this is pretty hopeful, that the company doesn't, you know, trash the game. And if they do trash the game, then yeah, we won't have Back 4 Blood content on this channel. But yeah, comment down below any games you want to know about, and I'll start making videos on it. Thank you all for watching.